Hey, good morning, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about balance or visual balance, visual weight in an artwork. So there's multiple types of balance that you can find in an artwork. You can have asymmetrical. That's the one that we're going to start with. You can have symmetrical or approximate symmetry. Those ones are really connected, very similar. And then radial symmetry. So we're going to go through all of these together. So now for asymmetrical, the official definition is the organization of the part of a composition such that the sides of a vertical axis are visually equal without being identical. So what that means in simpler terms is if you cut an artwork down the middle, it's different on each side. So you can see this picture here. This is a very simple picture, whereas if you took and you cut this down the middle, boop, 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 each side is different. If you want to experiment with that and you have your little mirror, you can set that mirror in the middle and see what it would look like if it was symmetrical. So it would look like this going that way, and it would look like this going that way. That one makes a smiley face. So what I want you to do now in this main area over here, you are going to create your own design and you are going to make an asymmetrical design. So you want it to be different on both sides, right? It can have similar items, like both sides have a circle, but they're in different places. And because this rectangle is kind of off to the side, it makes it different. Now I'm going to do a couple different things. First off, I'm going to draw a line. You are going to do your own thing, and as long as it looks different on both sides, that'll work. Now I think I want to have, I like kind of like Zentangle stuff, so I'm going to make this have like a little leafy pattern on one side like this, and then maybe I want to do some little dots on the other side. And I think I'm going to switch pens because apparently I picked the pen that was out of ink. So here we go. Oh, that one's a little better. Okay. And I'm going to add dots on this side. Now, like I said, it can be whatever you want as long as it's different on both sides. So again, if you want to experiment and kind of check and make sure that it's different on both sides, if you do have that little mirror, if you don't have the mirror, it's okay. You don't have to do it. But if you do want to try it and you do have that little mirror, you can try and see, like if I put it that way, that would have been symmetrical, but it's not the same, right? And if I do it this way, looks like that. So each time I did it, it looked different. It's asymmetrical. So if I cut this down the middle, it's different on each side, right? Okay. So now the next one on here is symmetrical and approximately symmetrical. Okay, so the official definition is the organization of the parts of a composition such that the sides of a vertical axis are exactly the same. So that's if it's symmetrical, it has to be exactly the same, or visually similar but not identical shapes or forms. And that would be approximate. So most humans, we are not perfect. So when we try to draw something, we can make something look really close to being symmetrical. But when we draw, we usually make it approximately symmetrical. So these are very related because they're both supposed to be basically, if you cut it down the middle, it's the same on both sides, right? So this up here in simpler terms, if you cut an artwork down the middle, it is the same or almost the same on each side. So it's the same if it's symmetrical, and it's almost the same if it's approximate symmetry or approximately symmetrical. So now this one, there's actually two different ways you could look at this and make it the same way. So you can do what we did on the above one, and we could cut this in half, and each side would look exactly the same. And we can, again, we can test that out, right? So I've got my mirror, and you can see if I do this, it looks the same, right? And if I tilt it the other way, it still looks like the same picture. So this one is symmetrical because it's the same on both sides. Now this one's a little bit tricky also because it's symmetrical if you cut it the other way too. So if I turn this to the side, and I do that little mirror trick, see how it's the same still? And it would be the same if I moved it the other way as well. So now we're going to add in a picture, and you need to try to make it as symmetrical as you can. Now, you're a human, or at least I'm assuming you are, so you aren't going to be able to make it perfectly symmetrical, but you're going to be able to make it close. Now, for me, I've decided that I'm going to make a heart, because if I cut a heart in half, straight down the middle, it'll make a heart again, right? So if I do this with the mirror, it finishes the picture for me because it's symmetrical, right? Now add a little extra something in there, make it look extra cool, add a little bit of extra something, color it in, make it look, you know, make it look special in some way, right? But make sure that you're keeping it as symmetrical or as approximately symmetrical as you can. So I'm just going to add a bunch of dots, and then maybe later I would color it in. But again, if I cut this down the middle, it's the same on both sides. Okay. Now this last one, the radial symmetry. Radial, if you think about radial, if you've ever heard of radial tires, similar, okay? Because it's based on a circle. So for radial balance, the official definition, a composition that is based on a circle with the design radiating from a central point. So the way I like to think about that is if you slice it like a pizza, each of the slices matches. Okay, so right here, that's what we're talking about. So if we put a dot in the middle and we pretend this is a pizza, and we cut it this way, and we cut it this way, and we cut it this way, each slice of the pizza, so this part of the pizza right here, right, we have the little, you know, triangle, and then we have a dot. And if we took this little shape and we rotated it around that central part, if we scooted it over, then it would match this one. And if we scooted it over, it matched that one. And if we scooted it over, it matched this one. Scooted it over, and we can do that all the way around. So it's radially symmetrical, or shows radial balance, okay? So for drawing that one, it's very, you know, we already talked about radial balance when we were doing the mandala inspired bowl earlier this term. So I'm gonna make mine just like I did that mandala inspired bowl. So I'm gonna start with drawing a line down and across, and then I'm gonna cross that with an X, okay? So it makes equal little pieces. And then I think I wanna have a focal point, so I'm gonna add a dot in the middle. I'm gonna use my Sharpie for this part. You don't have to use a Sharpie. You could use your pen that was provided by the class, or really any type of pen. So now whatever I do in this box right here, this triangle, I have to do the same thing in every single other triangle all the way around. And if it is easier for you to rotate the paper to make that same shape, that's totally fine. That's actually a good trick for when you're drawing. You don't, or painting, you don't have to hold your paper the same direction when you're working on stuff. You can rotate it however you want. So now I think I want to do, let's see, a triangle next. So you're just going to spend a little bit of time and make this look extra fancy, but anything you do in one of those triangles, you have to do it in the next triangle as well. All right. So continue adding stuff on, add some color, make it fancy, but make sure that you're showing the appropriate type of balance. So like radial balance, see how this is actually symmetrical as well, but it's symmetrical from every single little spot. So I could go all the way around and have it match all the way around, because that pizza slice matches all the way around, okay? All right, so make your own designs. Don't just copy mine. Make your own designs and make sure you have one that's asymmetrical, one that's symmetrical, and one that's radially symmetric. And what I want you to add on to your paper for the definition, make sure you have balance, visual weight, and an artwork. Make sure you have asymmetrical, and you can do that. If you cut an artwork down the middle, it is different on each side. Have symmetrical and approximate symmetry, and you'll copy this second one. So if you cut an artwork down the middle, it's the same or almost the same on each side. And then radially symmetrical, if you slice it like a pizza, each slice matches. So make sure you have balance and its definition, visual weight, and an artwork. Make sure you have asymmetrical and the small definition, symmetrical and approximate symmetry and the small definition, and radial and the small definition. All right, thanks everybody.